All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Peter Daltondo, and I'm your host this week and next for the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I keep saying, I just love that you are here and showing up. It's telling me that you are excited about learning, stoked about the things we're going to be checking out in XD, and bettering yourselves. And that's why I love teaching this, because I'm super passionate about people who are investing in themselves, and you're here and you're doing it. So, without further ado, let's say hello to some folks here in chat. Let me know where you're all watching from. I saw some folks are here from Australia. I think I saw the UK. See a bunch of familiar faces: Aaron, Josh, Cornell, Raphael. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'm so excited. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. I thought I would do one of probably my favorite feature in XD is Auto-Animate, and we're going to do some fun stuff today. And I gave a little hint that we were going to wreck it today. And so we're going to do some cool stuff with Wreck It Ralph, and we'll build something out fun. So if you have not already, make sure that you join the XD Discord chat. Head on out there to bit.ly/XD Discord, and that's where all of the conversation is going to be really going on. So for you, such as Joshua in El Salvador, or Michael from the Netherlands, Jess from Cleveland, Tim from Oakland. We've got Detroit, Canada. Evan, I know, out in Minnesota. Hello, my friend. Thank you all for tuning in, and we can all come together over on the Discord chat. So let's come over to my screen. I'm going to show you how to get there, and then I'll show you some of the key channels that you want to stay apprised of, where all the activity is happening. So when you come over here to the Daily Creative Challenge, again, this is behance.net/challenge/XD. You can come on over here and join the community chat. That'll give you a link into Discord. And each day at about 8 a.m. Pacific time, they'll unlock these challenges for you. And you can download the files. I'll go over that with you in a minute. And that'll kind of give you the info and insight you need into today's challenge. So lots of fun. Also, as we've started to see some of the challenges roll in, I'm going to be live tonight on my personal Behance. So go ahead and follow me over there, behance.net/Peter Daltondo. I'll try to do some kind of announcement in the XD Discord later as well. And I'll probably be in there somewhere around like 8, 9 o'clock tonight. And we'll be doing reviews and going over the challenges. And I love giving that live feedback, so that way you can watch and learn, and I kind of break down things a little bit more than I can do in text. And it's really good to be able to listen to the feedback to other people as well, because oftentimes that's going to be stuff that's applicable to your designs, and you can apply all that knowledge to the stuff that you're working on too. So again, make sure to give me a follow. Go check out some work. My team and I over at Unfold, we do some really cool stuff. So some fun projects to check out too. Without further ado, let's jump into Discord real quick. I'm going to guess we might have a couple extra minutes at the end of this stream. It's going to be a really kind of fun lesson, but it might be a little bit quicker. So if so, we'll go over a couple of projects today that have been released here, and you guys have been posting, and it's just really cool to see this. I also love seeing the community jump in and give each other feedback. So I love when you all jump in and don't just put your projects in there, but you're helping out and lifting up others in the community. It's really, really awesome. So current challenge is where you're going to post your work. And you can check out a lot of these other channels, pro tips, new in XD, lots of cool stuff. New in XD is probably going to be a lot of things from Howard, because he is the man. Howard's where I learned all my XD stuff too initially. So make sure you give him a follow as well. All right, let's jump in, to today's challenge. So today we are going to be talking about Auto-Animate. And Auto-Animate, to kind of sum it up for you maybe ahead of time, is Adobe is able to use their Adobe Sensei technology and kind of like algorithms on the back end that recognizes a change in position. So object A moves over here and maybe grows in size. Adobe XD is able to tell that it's the same object, the same layer or grouping of layers, and it knows that, hey, let's create an animation based on different easing effects that will move that and change it into a larger object, or change the shape of a button, or turn a button into a play button, whatever cool things you can think of, it does very intuitively. And where that's really, really cool is that rather than back in the day, sounds so weird to say, back in the day when you needed to use Adobe After Effects to do these, simple transitions, but they are kind of complex to put together. You could do it in like 30 seconds in Adobe XD. And so it's a super powerful and creative way to bring your products to life and be able to showcase your work in a whole different way. And I guarantee you, the first time you show somebody something that you create in using Auto-Animate, they're going to look at it and go, "How did you do this?" It's going to blow people away. So it's going to be really, really cool to learn. And by far, the feature outside of just regular design that I use most in XD is Auto-Animate. Really, really, really powerful. So today, we are going to design and prototype a social media experience where users can interact with posts using hearts or likes or whatever you want to use here, and use Auto-Animate to improve your interactions. So I thought it would be really fun today to do something kind of along the theme of Wreck-It Ralph from Ralph Breaks the Internet, where he's doing kind of crazy things to get the hearts, and I thought it'd be really fun to animate what that transition could look like using Auto-Animate. And I'll show you how to do it in a couple of simple and easy steps. Again, coming down here, I've got some challenges for you to utilize, things I'm going to encourage you to do, and you'll see here in my design. I want you to use real copy. Try to avoid using lorem ipsum. When you do, it immediately makes the design look fake. Once you start bringing things in there that bring it to life, it feels realistic and immerses the user into it. So even though it's somewhat of a visual thing, it plays very much into the user experience side of this type of design. So I'm going to encourage you, use lorem ipsum to block out text for your own purposes for spacing, but go back and fill it out with real copy. Try to avoid using Latin or filler text of any kind. Put your own stuff in there. And then play around with different easing effects in this. I want you to test out and get familiar with how these different features work and how those different effects change the visual way of your animation, because that might have a big impact on things. So experiment, get familiar with it, and see which are your go-tos and your favorites. And then lastly, share your link on Discord, upload the project to Behance, and we'll go in and check that out. So in each of these exercises, I always include some inspiration that I think is cool, and I want to pull some different things from. So I encourage you all, go look at apps like Facebook and Instagram, and maybe in this case YouTube. It's going to be kind of similar, but we want to look at different things and start looking at, okay, do I want a light UI, a dark UI? How do I want to position things? Do I want rounded corners, hard corners? How's that going to make the emotion and the feeling of this application change? And so just take a peek at some of the stuff, take a look at different colors, and just try to get inspired by some of these things. And an exercise I like to do too is to kind of look at things maybe a day before and then close everything out and never look at it again. That way I don't accidentally go and like straight copy something because it's so fresh in my mind or whatnot. It's a really good exercise. Something I learned from Matt Helm many years ago was look at something. If you're doing lettering, even trace a font or type, and then sit on it for a couple of days and then come back and do it from memory, and you'll find that you create your own version of something rather than a replication. So good little exercise. And then down here, I also got really inspired by these illustrations. So the idea of these like floating hearts, something that they're catching, and in here kind of playing to that emotional side again and that tap interaction. I just thought this was cool. And yes, Cornell asking about using things like hipster ipsum, or one of my favorite is like Seinfeld ipsum. Anytime you use something that's just not real, like flowing natural language, it's gonna look off. And so again, gonna really encourage you to build that stuff out accordingly. And then we've also got some resources down here at the bottom. Check out the icons. You'll see me use some stuff from Nucleo icons today that's really helpful. But let's get into some design stuff. So over here, I've created an artboard. This is going to be for your standard like iPhone X size, or 375 by I think it's 813 or 811. And I always like to design with the actual Apple UI kit. And you can get this by coming over here, click on this, get UI kits. And if you click on Apple iOS, it'll take you to a link to download that. And it'll give you things and positionings like the home indicator, the time and status bar symbols at the top. And it's really important to design with that because when you prototype it out, it's going to be in the right location. It's going to feel realistic to your design. It's just always account for that. I see people too often kind of forget that aspect. So I'm going to just start pulling some stuff in here. And with this, I brought over BuzzTube from the movie. So I just did a little typography mark for that. We'll center that up and throw that in here. And again, I'm not going to get too specific in my designs today in terms of proper spacing, even though it eats me at my core, because we've got about 15 more minutes to run through this. So coming down here, I've built out the icons that I want. I've got my home indicator down here. And just to show you a little trick that I like to do as I build this section out is I'll come down here. Now the math isn't going to be perfectly right because it is going to be a little bit of a fraction item, but we can fix that, and in development it works out. But as you can see here, I like the 8-pixel grid. I've got 16 and 16 on each side. I want that to be my margin overall. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to divide this by 4. And you could round this up or you could round this down. It doesn't really matter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this out. I'm just going to change this to a different color so you can see it a little clearer. And I'm going to break it out like this. I want to space my icons within these objects rather than just evenly within here. And it's going to make it feel right in terms of like visually once I add in the rest of my content and the padding and spacing that I have going on. So just a little trick to pad that stuff out right. And so I would just come in here, grab these icons down below, and this should more or less be pretty accurate because I did this before. And you can see now as I remove this, that feels right rather than getting some like tighter spaces on the edges. It's going to feel really good with the content itself. So I'm just going to drop in my block here. And we can just center this up and anchor that. One thing I'm going to want to do is also, this should be off by default, but I'm going to fix that position when scrolling. And where this is really cool is that then when I am dealing with my prototype later, this is going to stay in position. So it'll allow me to actually add more content and scroll up and down while this will stay anchored at the bottom of my design at all times. So it's a really cool little feature. All right, so next I want to create the graphic, and I'm gonna grab one of these over here, and I've already pulled these in. But essentially, I want to grab this, and I want to create something that shows what this is gonna be. So I've got my image here. I've already grabbed Ralph, so I'm gonna drag him. I'll copy this just so I have it. Grab him, and we need to set up like a username. So I'm going to do @bearpaws. I'm going to set this to be, we'll go a little bit lighter than that, so it's a little bit more readable. Anyway, all right, get rid of you guys. And so I'll adjust all this stuff again later. I'm just going to show a quick setup, and I've got things like my comments, and then I'm going to come down here and I'll add some text in here that says something like nom. And then we can add, say, a timestamp would be another good one, and we could say posted 30 minutes ago. And again, change some stuff, visual hierarchy, this all needs some work. But what I want to show you in how that gets built out, I'm going to pull over this one that I've already got, is I'm going to do something, because what I want to do screen by screen here is show the interaction of this heart being tapped, and I want to create a flutter of hearts that kind of float across the screen. And I'll show you how that interaction is going to work. So let's come up here first. I'm going to grab my next graphic, grab these three. And so I've got Von Schweetz here with hashtag Girl Squad hanging out with all of the princesses. And so I'm going to bring this over. We'll put this right underneath. We'll center that up and we will send that to back. I could probably move these all up a little bit. And then if I want to have that additional scroll, I'm going to make this a little bit longer. And we'll put this in here as well. We'll space that out additionally, and we're good to go. So now what this is going to look like when we put this into prototype mode, move this over here, is as I scroll, whoops, that needs to go into the back. As I scroll, as you see, what happens here is this menu is staying anchored at the bottom, but I can scroll through the content and I could leave some of these other items. Like I would probably want this pinned, and I might even set this up where like this whole section, perhaps send that to the back. I might like group all of this, and then same thing, fix position, and I am going to move this to the front. And then as I scroll now, that stays up at the top. So really cool being able to use that fixed position when scrolling. Really, really, really helpful. And again, just to show the difference of things, I want to do subtle things in my design. So I change like the comments and the light counts here to the second one. It makes it feel more realistic. Whereas I didn't change it here on this last option. And now it feels like this has been, kind of sloppily recreated because it's clearly utilizing the same thing. So that's where update those things, change out the text. Like here you might do felt cute, might delete later or something. Like have fun with your designs, put some personality into it, and make sure that that content differs and it'll feel more realistic. So the next thing that we are going to do here, and the way I've set this up, is I want to set up an interaction where when I click on the heart, it's going to change color. It's going to go to red. And then I want hearts to float and kind of flutter up on top of the screen. So what I have done here is, starting at the very beginning, you kind of need to build your last end screen up front, if that makes sense. So what I've got here are other layers of hearts in this. And you'll see I've got the color here already applied in my fill in borders. But what I've done is I've brought the opacity down to 0. And so what I'm going to do on several of these, because I'm going to have several hearts kind of flutter at once, is I'm just going to really easily come over here and I'm going to duplicate this screen over. And what I want to do first is I want to grab this top heart. Just maybe this one. It's this guy here. All right, and we're using this red color. So I'm just going to come in. I'm going to change that to this. Okay, great. So I've changed the color. That's step 1. But there's a lot more that I need to do with this now. I need to add this one more step. And now as I come in and I have these other hearts that have not yet been seen, I want to move these around a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the opacity up a little bit. So bring this up to maybe 50, 60%. I don't want it all the way. And then I'm going to start moving these around. So this one here, I might do something like this so that it feels like there's an overlap of the object here. And it's going to be a little bit larger at the beginning, and then it's going to trail off. So I'm going to keep changing these sizes as I go as well. And I'll bring the opacity down a little bit. So what did I go last time? I went 60. I'll make this one 50. It'll come up a little bit more. And I'm just going to shrink the size of this down a hair. Bring it up a little bit more. And I'm just going to keep going. Bring this up. We'll make this one maybe like 35. We'll go here, and I'm going to shrink this down again. And I think we've got one more heart. And we'll go 25 on this one. We'll make this one really small. Okay, so we've got this, great. And I'm gonna essentially want this to go back to one more screen. That's just gonna show the heart. And so I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna grab all of these, and I'm gonna bring the opacity back down to 0. So really simple. I've set up 4 different screens that are gonna allow me to set up this, this process and flow to animate this. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go and switch into prototype mode right up here at the top. So I'm gonna click into this, and I'm gonna click on my first screen, and I am going to select this heart object, and you could make your anchor grouping larger if you wanna make sure that it's, you know, definitely tapped. It's not a smaller object or something like that. So I'm gonna make sure that I've got this object here selected, and I'm gonna bring this over, and I'm just gonna do this really simple. It's gonna be tap. I'm gonna change transition to Auto-Animate. And for now, I'm gonna leave this at ease out. A duration of 0.3 seconds is fine. But again, tinker with this stuff and see what works best and it is right for you. And then we're gonna keep going here. And just a reminder, everybody, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, make sure you join over at behance.net/live. That's where we're watching chat, and I'll be responding to stuff over there. So if you're on YouTube, I'm not reading that chat at the same time, but come and join us. And Laura, is it possible to do this with states and one artboard? Yes, so you can do some things with states, like say toggling things on or off, for example. But because we're doing a little bit more of a complex for XD, where we need to do this in a sequence of steps and stages, there is probably a way, actually, as I say that, you could make your state like a larger object and area that has the end kind of flutter state and in between and whatnot. It's probably doable. This is how I would probably do it, just to make it a little bit more visual. I think especially presenting to like stakeholders and whatnot, it's a little easier in that format, but it is possible. So, all right, so next, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna transition right to this screen, but we are gonna do this a little bit differently. We're gonna do it as a time delay. So I want it to be pretty instantaneous. It's gonna be a 0-second delay. I'm gonna keep it on Auto-Animate here, but I'm gonna make the duration a little bit longer. So I might tinker this one and let's say 0.5 seconds. And then I wanna do one more delay to kind of let these flutter out. So I'm gonna do a time delay, and maybe on this one, I will do 7 seconds. So that's gonna take me to this screen, and then just so we can loop back and like cycle through this interaction again, I'm gonna come in here and I'll grab this heart, and I'm gonna just pull this all the way back to the start. We'll do tap Auto-Animate, and we can have that be a little quicker. And that'll just kind of reset the interaction so we can go through it once again. So let's check out what this looks like now if we were to play with this. So I'm going to hit my prototype, pull this on over here. So once again, I can scroll through, I can interact with this. This would allow me to even like do transitions into particular posts if I wanted to see it larger, if I want to get into commenting. Lots of opportunity with this. But we are just going to simply come in and hit that heart. And let's go back and loop that again so we can see it. So what we're looking for in this is that first, it's going to change color and it's going to transition to red. So it's going to show us that inactive to active state. And then we're giving it a little bit of flare and animation. And so by clicking it, it's going to flutter and then it's going to go back and go away. So let's do that a couple more times. We see the flutter of hearts, they grow in size, they all come up from the start. And you could get even more intricate with these timing transitions, and you could like really move them around and go back and forth. There's a lot of cool things that you could do. But once more, let's check that out. We come in, we click our heart, and we get that beautiful little pop-up of animation. So in this case, Bear Paws, Wreck-It Ralph, is able to get the hearts needed to get Vanellope her steering wheel back. We have saved the day here on BuzzTube, and it's because of fans like you who hit the like, who gave him a heart, they were able to do that. So we worked together, we accomplished something great. A lot of fun today on the stream. Before we sign off, let's just take a quick look at that schedule. So coming up, we've got Kyle T. Webster with Draw Along, and then we've got, where do I go? Voodoo Val and Emmy with Good, Rad, Funny. And lastly, make sure you tune in tonight. I'll be doing that live stream on my personal Behance, behance.net/Peter Del Tondo, and we'll be covering your projects. So make sure you submit those over on the XD Discord. We'll be jumping into that for a couple hours and doing some reviews. So hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stick around for some more great stuff.